Greetings and salutations to everybody out there in podcast land. This is the Judo Chop Suey podcast, and I'm your host, as always, Judo Dave Roman. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Or this past week? Did you have a good week? Yeah? You do some training? Did you get hurt? Hopefully you stayed safe like I asked you to in my last podcast? I'm doing great. I'm excited to be back behind the microphone in the DIE studios. That's Dave is excellent. Actually, that's crap. I'm not excellent. I'm just okay. But I think this podcast is excellent. No, not really. I think it's okay. But so you guys seem to like it. So I'm going to keep going with this podcast as I've promised to do. And here I am back behind the microphone to talk about judo, to talk about your reaction to some of the things that I've seen. But first, I'm really excited about this. I've got a sponsor. I've got a sponsor to the Judo Chop Suey podcast. So let me ask you guys a little something, just between you and me. Are you having trouble with your poop? Is your significant other tired of listening to you grunting for minutes at a time in the bathroom because you're constipated? Are you worried about taking one of those other laxatives and it starts working at the most inopportune time, like the car or at your judo club? Well, let me tell you about a product called Anusert Suppositories. Anusert Suppository is the new sponsor of the Judo Chop Suey podcast. With Anusert Suppositories, it works when you want it to, and it works within minutes. No more taking a laxative hours before class and wondering whether or not your Tomonagi is going to fail for different reasons. One dose will clear the pipes faster than any other suppository on the market. It's like Drano for the human body. And that's our new sponsor for the Judo Chop Suey podcast. I'm kidding. There's no such thing. No such thing. Oh my goodness, that's just ridiculous. No, I don't have any sponsors for this podcast. But hey, if you want to have your name mentioned, you want to be a part of the show, you want me to pimp your products or whatever the case may be, reach out to me and give me a little something. You know, whatever it is. You want to, I don't know, send me $1. Send me, you know what, judoinside.com. They've got one of those nifty little, what do you call it, water bottles. I've seen them on their Twitter page. Hans, if you're listening to me, I'll plug your site for the next 2 months if you send me one of those water bottles. And I'll take it everywhere and I'll promote your site like you've never been promoted before. I'll take it not only to the club, I'll take it to work. I'll take it to restaurants. I'm sure that'll go over well. Hello, sir. Can I offer you something to drink? And I'll be like, no, thank you. I have my official judoinside.com water bottle. Oh, but sir, you're not allowed to bring... I have my official judoinside.com water bottle. Truth be told, look, I'm not really looking for sponsors. I don't need sponsors. This is free. This is my gift to you, the listeners. This is my legacy that I'm putting on these internet airwaves, coming to you, to your headphones, to your car speakers. This is my legacy. So if one day I were to die, the people who love me can listen to me for the rest of their lives. So sorry to get a little macabre there, but you don't have to give me anything. You want me to give you a shout out? Just ask. I'll give you a shout out. Send me a message. Send me a tweet at La Vida Judoka. You could shoot me an email at judochopsueyshow@gmail.com. You could reach out to me on Facebook. I want to give a special shout out to the peeps over on the Discord server. You guys know who you are. You guys asked me to give you a shout out, so here I am. Here it is. Check out the Discord server if you want to talk some judo with about, I don't know how many people are out there, but there's a good group, good discussion going on there, and as always, you can find me on Reddit at D_Rome. I like talking about judo and like talking all things judo, and that's why I have this podcast. I've had some great feedback from the last podcast, my very first interview for the Judo Chop Suey podcast, and overwhelming positive responses. I'm very grateful for my guest, Bozo, to come on there and tell his side of the story and just to let the rest of the judo community know how things are in other places. I thought it was a very interesting conversation, and I think all of you found that pretty interesting. Not everybody, though. I got a message from somebody that I appreciate because I don't want this podcast to be just an echo chamber for my opinion. So I got a pretty interesting message. I don't know who this person is. It was anonymous, but it came to me through my YouTube page. I don't know if you guys are aware. If you search for Judo Chop Suey on YouTube, you can I post the podcast up on YouTube for anybody that prefers to listen to the podcast through YouTube for whatever reason. So I got an interesting message from somebody. It went like this. I'll try not to read everything, but I thought it was humorous to me. Not that I'm laughing at this fellow because I'm grateful that he wrote, but it was humorous and interesting for me to get a different take, a different opinion. So his message goes, first time I listened, good show. The women's topic was excellent, but the Reddit story was a dud. Actually, it was annoying dud. It was an annoying dud. All right, thank you. The Aussie Federation has rules different from other federations, you say? Oh, that's a shame. Period. That's their take on promotions, not what most other countries do, so it really isn't a problem. I don't know if maybe I said it was a problem. I think what I was trying to get at was that it highlights an issue with adults and promotions. That's all. Anyway, continuing on. You might think it's harsh, but I don't think there's a need for the melodrama. And I say that as a 50-year-old man who stopped at brown belt. I spent most of my adult life dealing with health injuries and a job that takes me on the road about 3 to 6 months a year. And while I have done judo and sambo in 12 different countries where I've worked between the ages of 26 and 44, when I stopped because of pain, I didn't go one full year where I wasn't away or injured. And had I been able to physically continue, I wouldn't have stopped just because I didn't have a black belt, because I loved the sport. Well, again, I don't think the issue is about stopping, because you said you're doing judo and sambo, and my guest was saying he would move on to jiu-jitsu once he's healthy. Anyway, let's see. Presume Mars lands a place. What I don't want to see, and this was interesting to me. His opinion here. What I don't want to see, and thankfully will never happen, is the BJJ way of giving out belts, which is reminiscent of the old McDojos in the 70s. I don't think that's really true. I've been to a bunch of jiu-jitsu clubs, and I've never seen promotions that were McDojo-ish. Let's see. Apart from the U.S., judo is run as a club entities with technical directors who often move after some years. The American way is private business judo clubs where the sensei is the focal point instead of it being the club. When a sensei moves to diets, the club usually closes. I don't know about that. I certainly not in the United States. I know locally there is, and this is just me talking. He's not writing this. Locally, there's a sensei who's got it. I gotta believe he's a kudan, and I know he's toward the end of his life, to put it gently. And I know when he passes away, that club is not going to close. And he's been a fixture in that club for over 60 years. 60. Yeah, I said not 60. So that club is not going to close. I know that. So let's see what he says here. Continuing on, it's easier to pull the promotion thing like BJJ because also BJJ is the Far West. There's no credible national or international bodies, no standards, etc., which suits the American psyche perfectly, since Americans are allergic or even have uses for national, international federations in their sports. That's great. I love that. This is the kind of email, and again, whoever you are, I appreciate you writing, because this is a perspective I love hearing. I love hearing how other people view Americans from outside of the United States. The only thing that was missing here was you Yankee Doodle Dandy mother. So that's the only thing that was missing here. But I love it. I love that. I wish there was more of that. But I'm grateful for the message. Continuing on, let's see. There is no national and international federations in Major League Baseball or NFL, and while there are international federations in hockey and basketball, the Americans don't play well with others. BJJ fits perfectly in the DYO mindset. Now look, when it comes to American sports, I hate to say it, you want to play the best baseball, you come to the major leagues, MLB. You want to play the highest levels of professional football, you go to the NFL. You want to play the highest levels in hockey, you come to the NHL. You want to play the highest levels in basketball, you come to the NBA. And from what I've seen, you want to be in the highest levels in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. There's other countries, namely Brazil, but hey, come to the United States because we've got high-level competitors here in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Really can't quite say the same about judo. We're not there yet. I don't think we have enough of high-level coaches. I know other countries, they get coaches from other countries and to help build up their programs. They'll invite, let's say for instance, France will invite some Japanese instructors to come over and stay for a while. I know before he went on the Lam, Peter Seisenbacher was the head coach for the Azerbaijan judo team. I mean, I don't know all the coaches, but there are coaches that train people who are not from their home countries. So, and that's an issue that the United States, I think, has in terms of judo. But I don't know if I agree. I don't know if I agree with Americans being allergic to standards. I've never ever called for the judo federations to be dissolved in the United States. I have never ever called for that. They have a place and they have an important place. The only thing I was just questioning is whether or not for the growth of judo, it's wise to put up so many roadblocks for Shodan in terms of the other things. Now, I've been explicitly clear. The technical requirements, and I'm going to get to this point in a little bit. For the technical requirements for Shodan are what they are, and I think they're very good, at least in the United States. And I know in other countries, the technical requirements, what you should be able to demonstrate, that's spot on. My only argument is I don't know if they should be all the other things involved to earn a Shodan. That's always been my argument. Let's see what he says here. Continuing on, don't think that this is a diss of BJJ, but, which means it's going to be a diss of BJJ. That's more of how it works. From the totally crazy, retarded fees, that's his words, not mine, to the lineage hype they push. Okay. I know a few friends who stopped judo because their clubs don't have an Awaza only class for adults, and they say what you want. Judo is more punishing sport once you hit the middle age, which is often too much. I suppose I'm middle aged right now. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's punishing, but of course I've got 11 years under my belt. Let's see what here. This is kind of humorous. I'd say the number one reason adults have for stopping judo by far is how grueling it is to be thrown 90 minutes of class. I get the hard-on 20 to 30-year-old men have for BJJ. You watch the UFC get all riled up and say, I want to kick some ass too, because damn it, you're a manly man too. Of course, no one actually joins an MMA gym because, getting punched in the face and kicked isn't very fun. Hey, look, in all defense, that's why I do judo. I'm a hobbyist. I'm a recreational player. It's all I'll ever be. I love judo, and I love learning how to... I'm not learning how to fight, but I'm learning fighting skills. Because you know what? I'm too good looking to get punched in the face. And I'm too old to get punched in the face. I've got nothing left to prove anymore. So, I get that. I get your argument. I don't really agree with it. I would say when I first did jiu-jitsu in the late 90s, yeah, that was it for sure. I wanted to be the next Hoist Gracie, and you got a lot of MMA wannabes joining jiu-jitsu. That was the late 90s, but these days, every jiu-jitsu person I know has no aspirations to be a mixed martial arts fighter. And I know quite a bit of jiu-jitsu guys, and none of them want to be in MMA. They're far more interested in maybe transitioning to no-gi, and no-gi submission wrestling, that kind of thing. But I don't know any jiu-jitsu guy that aspires to be a mixed martial arts fighter. If they aspire to be that, they go to an MMA gym. Here, our last point here. Too many Americans over the past few years get fidgety about the rise of BJJ and feel inadequate because they feel judo has stalled, when in reality, Hidaki Jime or Udi Garami is what they do exactly, but with names in Portuguese. Well, yeah, I get some of that. BJJ benefits totally on its UFC connection, but so why get upset? No, I don't agree with that, anonymous emailer. I don't agree with that. It's BJJ benefits on the UFC, but I don't think it's nearly as much as you're purporting. I respectfully disagree with you. I think it has more for the points that I've brought up in the past couple of podcasts. I'm not going to belabor those points because I've already stated them, but I think in short, jiu-jitsu does a much better job enticing the adult participant, the adult beginner. Feels more welcome in jiu-jitsu than in judo, and I stand by that, and I will not budge from that until some sensei out there wants to prove me wrong. Then that's okay. Feel free. That's why I'm reading this email, because I want you guys to understand that this podcast is not a means for me to just pontificate and just get by with just creating some kind of echo chamber. This fellow disagrees with me, and I respect his disagreements, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm grateful that he wrote. I love this take. So anyway, that's one. That's one response to it. It was a very long. It was a very long message, and I only read parts of it, but I wanted you guys to get a different take on that, and I thought I enjoyed that message. I received a second message, a private direct message on Reddit, and I'd like to. That's going to be part of this podcast. What I'm going to talk about is promotions in judo and what I feel certain ranks mean and what certain ranks should be able to do. And after that, I want to discuss a little bit about the tournament in Dusseldorf, which I thought was excellent. So let me read for you this brief message that I received from a fellow Redditor out there in Reddit land. So this message, and I'm going to keep the Redditor's handle anonymous because this was a private message. So I'm going to keep it anonymous. Maybe in the future, if he wants me to reference his name, that's he can let me know. But so he asks, could you talk about the meaning of Q ranks and Dan ranks, my interpretation of that? It would be really neat to hear your insights on this. Maybe something similar to this write-up. And he sent me a link to a website called dcjudo.com, why belt rank matters. I'm not going to read that article. You guys I'll link that in the show notes if you're interested. But I'm not going to read up that article because I want to give my own opinions. He also writes, also being that I'm a BJJ guy, it would be really neat to hear your comparison to BJJ ranks. And he puts in quotes, BJJ rank X equals judo rank Y in terms of skill level relative to mastering that martial art. Thanks. You're welcome. So let me give you my opinion, and it's just an opinion on what I feel certain Q ranks should be able to demonstrate to me. It's if I was a sensei of my own club, these are the type of things that I would expect of certain Q ranks. So obviously you start off at white belt. I think that is common across all martial arts that has a belt rank system. You start off at white belt and you just need to show up to class. You can't go any lower in terms of Q ranks. Now the ranking system that I'm going to talk about is really the only one that I have experience with, and that's through USA Judo, the USJI. That is the older name for it, if I'm not mistaken. So after white belt, the next rank is yellow belt, which is Gokyu. Now, for me, when I think of a Gokyu, the things that I would look for in a Gokyu is somebody who can demonstrate proper ukemi. They can demonstrate two throws. And in general, a lot of times those two throws tend to be the first two throws most people learn, which is Osotogari and Ogoshi. Now, some people, at yellow belt, I know a lot of yellow belts know more throws than that, but I should be able to say, demonstrate Osotogari, demonstrate ogoshi. And that yellow belt should be able to demonstrate those throws. Now, you can mix in other throws. To me, you can mix in Ippon Seoinage, you can mix in Ouchigari, and I think those throws would be okay as well. So out of those throws, I like yellow belts to be able to demonstrate Ippon Seoinage, Ouchigari, Osotogari, and Ogoshi with some basic proficiency. I don't expect them to look very great. I don't expect perfect Kazushi. I don't expect just a perfect looking technique. And I also want to see the student at that level be able to demonstrate the ukemi from those throws properly. And when it comes to yellow belt, ukemi is the most important thing to me. I don't care if your technique doesn't look good, or I don't care if your technique looks good. The thing I care about at that level is ukemi. You don't have to know, a bunch of different chokes, a bunch of different arm bars at that point. I would expect, when it comes to Newaza, I would expect a yellow belt to know Keisagatami. I say, show me Keisagatami, they should be able to do it. If I say, show me Okuri Eri Jime, they should be able to show that. And also, I think at a yellow belt level, Gokyu, that they should know basic history of judo. Who's the founder of judo? When it was founded? They should know how many throws there are in the Gokyo no Waza. They should know and be able to demonstrate Tai Sabaki, explain what Kazushi is, and be able to tell me what does Kumikata mean. Things like that. My expectations for yellow belt are not very high. I don't think they really need to be high. Now, the next rank after yellow belt is green belt under USJI, USA Judo standards. That's Yankyu. Yankyu is a key rank to me for the yellow belt, because at Yankyu, I need to be able to see more than just the basics. The standards are higher for me, and I need to be able to see a Yankyu demonstrate 6 different throws. And those throws don't have to be, they don't necessarily have to be Osotogari and Ogoshi, Ippon Seoinage, or Ouchigari. I expect a Yankyu to be able to, if whatever throws they choose to demonstrate, or they have proficiency demonstrating, they should be able to demonstrate those throws. And if I were to scale it, out of a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best, I would need to see proficiency at about a 3. Now, granted, for myself, I don't have any throws that I would consider myself a 5, but I have very high standards for myself as a Shodan. But I'm talking about a scale of 1 to 5 in terms of that level, Yankyu. At Yankyu, I kind of expect, I like to see people who are ready for green belt be able to throw people in randori who are lesser ranked than them. Beginners and yellow belts, it doesn't have to be consistent, it doesn't have to be pretty, but I expect people who are ready for Yankyu to be able to throw every once in a while in randori. Again, my standards are not extremely high for Yankyu, but things like a Newaza, I should be able to see some controlled movement in Newaza. I should be able to see a Yankyu, for example, should be able to transition from Keisagatami to Yoko Shiogatami to Kami Shiogatami. I should be able to see that transition at that point, and they should have no trouble demonstrating that. I also think at Yankyu, a judoka should be able to demonstrate Ure Garami and Juji Katami. I should be able to see some proficiency at a basic level with those techniques, and I should also be able to see proficiency with Hadaka Jime and again Okuri Eri Jime. I like to see a Yankyu have 1 turnover from a turtle, and I also like to see that they are able to demonstrate a combination technique. Show me Ouchigari to Osotogari. Show me Kouchigari to Ippon Seiyanagi. So, but my standards for Yankyu are not very high. I don't have extremely high expectations. And the reason why my expectations are lower for Gokyu and Yankyu is because, quite frankly, the ranks after that, most people are in them for a while. And those are the key ranks, which is, and I want to get to that. And I was talking about this earlier this week on Reddit. Sankyu is, I think, as crazy as this may sound, the most important Q rank. In the United States, I believe across all judo organizations, but certainly among the USJI, Sankyu, you get a brown belt. And you are brown belt for Sankyu, Nikkyu, and EQ. But Sankyu is an important rank to me for a variety of reasons. Sankyu is the rank where judo development needs to start happening. So if you're an athletic guy and you're throwing people in randori where, you're just succeeding based on your athletic prowess, that's, once you get to Sankyu, I need to start seeing more than just athletic prowess and strength and that kind of thing. And I'm not saying that strength and athletic ability don't have a place in judo. They absolutely do. But at Sankyu, that's the rank where I feel that you need to start showing that you are doing things in a judo way. Maximum efficiency, minimal effort, and you need to be moving in a way, you need to be stringing your combinations in randori to truly create some kind of kazushi. You don't have to be good at it, but there comes a point in time where you start moving in a judo way. You stop crossing your feet. You should stop crossing your feet by yellow belt or certainly by green belt. But you should be able to, you should have a tokui waza at that point, in my opinion. You should have a throw that you favor. You should have a throw that that tokui waza you can throw with different grips. And, even if you don't throw the judo way in randori, let's say, or even in competition, if you're a competitor at this point, in terms of demonstrating judo techniques, I need to see proper kazushi at Sankyu, starting at Sankyu at this point. But Sankyu is an important rank. So let me put it in another term, since going back to the original question. To me, Sankyu is the equivalent of a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu blue belt. Now, I'm not saying in terms of ground ability, a Sankyu is going to be as good as a blue belt. It's not going to be the case. But in terms of technical ability, where you are at in your judo path, I would say those two particular ranks, if you're comparing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and judo, Sankyu is the equivalent of a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu blue belt within judo. And I think you guys who do Jiu Jitsu would have an understanding what that means. Basically, at Sankyu, I would expect a Sankyu to be able to throw a brand new person who walks through the door, somebody who's equal size and equal build and such. I would expect a Sankyu be able to throw that person, not all the time. It's always tough, but I should see something. This is the rank where you start to see development. Now, up to this point, this should go without saying that your technical knowledge should be increasing at this point. I don't really have it laid out what I expect Sankyu or Nikkyu or EQ to be able to show, but I would say that whatever my technical requirements would be, I don't know them just yet. I know there are guidelines out there that I could use, but what I'm looking for is overall ability, doing things in a judo way. At Sankyu, I expect students to be able to start demonstrating grip fighting proficiency. I'm not saying it can't happen before, but I certainly would expect it by Sankyu. You should be able to get your grips, dominate the other person's grips, and be able to throw from whatever grips you you can get. I'm not saying every single grip, but you need to be able to show some sort of low-level proficiency in grip fighting. You need to be able to show proficiency in demonstrating combination techniques. You should be able to demonstrate with some proficiency countering techniques. Now, when it comes to Nikkyu, I would say, Nikkyu is an important rank as well, but Nikkyu has got to definitely be better than a Sankyu. A Sankyu is like, to me, Sankyu is like the entry-level blue belt versus the guy who's been a blue belt for a year and a half. And, a Nikkyu is somebody who's been a Sankyu for about a year, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, depending if you're a competitor or not. But, a Nikkyu should be able to do, you should be, as an instructor or a sensei, I would expect a Nikkyu to be able to have a basic grasp on movement and body positioning, defending with the hips, just circling and really trying to get the timing of your throws down and really aiming for that. Now, granted, the timing for throws and getting those effortless throws, that's a pursuit that I will have for the rest of my life, no matter what my rank is. But at Nikkyu, I'd like to see that happen maybe, say, once every couple weeks. You notice that your student, man, he was just dead on perfect with that particular throw. I want to see that kind of stuff. Now, something that I overlooked with terms of Sankyu and Nikkyu and going on to EQ is, in my opinion, and this didn't happen to me, but I think there's a place in judo for kata, and I'm going to have a discussion on kata in a future podcast. I don't know when, but I want to make sure that when I discuss kata, it's going to be in a pretty comprehensive way, and I'm going to be very thoughtful on that subject. But in my opinion, I think unless you're just going to a competition club and you're a high-level competitor, that at this point, you should be able to demonstrate Nage no kata, at least some of the Teiwaza and the Koshiwaza techniques. I think by Nikkyu, you should be able to demonstrate that stuff. Now for EQ, I think at minimum, you need to be able to demonstrate at minimum 20 techniques and be able to demonstrate them with a high level of proficiency. And not only that, I should be able to see you demonstrate several different Nawaza techniques, several different chokes, several different arm bars. I should be able to call them out and you should be able to demonstrate them. And when it comes to kata, I think that somebody who doesn't compete at all should be able to demonstrate the first 3 or 4 groups of Nage no kata. So that would include, besides the Teiwaza and the Koshiwaza, the Ashiwaza, the Matsutemi Waza, and the Yoko Tsutsutemi Waza. Those, I think, by EQ, you should be able to have and demonstrate Nage no kata at a low level. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I think at that level, you should be able to demonstrate that. You should, by EQ is like, if I were to compare it to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, the 4-stripe blue belt. Like you really gotta be throwing Shodan and other black belts in Randori or even in competition. You gotta at least be able to put up a good fight. You gotta be doing things the judo way out there. Now, not talking about high-level competitors, of course, because they're just a different animal completely, different breed entirely. So, but I'm talking about your regular club students that I think you should be able to really give anybody out on the mats a good run for their money, unless they're an Olympian or whatever. But somebody who's equal ranked, around the same age and stuff, you should be throwing them in Randori. Your technique should look pretty crisp. It shouldn't look sloppy. You should be able. You don't have to be perfect, but you got to look good at EQ. Before you get EQ, you got to look good, and you got to like I said, you got to be moving, and your throws have to have purpose. Your attacks have to have perfect purpose. None of this, tapping the leg and hoping, or whatever the case may be. You gotta be going full out in your attacks and your commitments to your attacks. And when you make mistakes, this is very important to me. When you make mistakes, you got to know why your throws are failing. Now, I'm not saying, why isn't, oh, I just did it wrong. Well, what did you do wrong? Were you just in the wrong position? Was your foot off? Did you not step in deep enough? You should be able to do a throw, analyze your own throw and your own mistakes, and then go on and correct them. Whether that's in terms of demonstration or in randori, I should be able to see that kind of stuff. Now, EQs most of the time that I've seen are ready for Shodan. It takes them maybe another. I don't know. It's really hard to say. It did not take me very long to move from EQ to Shodan, quite frankly. Some people it takes a lot longer. But I do think that an EQ should be able to hang with most Shodan, unless there's just, physical advantages that you can't, match up for. But I think at EQ, you should be hanging with Shodan. Doesn't mean that you'll throw them all the time. It doesn't mean that you'll get thrown all the time. But you should be able to hang with your local club Shodan and give him or her a good run for their money. Now, in regards to Shodan, personally speaking, I would expect a Shodan be able to demonstrate the entire Gokyo. And I would expect a Shodan to be able to demonstrate Nage no Kata. And I just expect a Shodan to be able to build upon the things that they've been building upon for Sankyu, Nikkyu, and EQ. And I think by Shodan, you really need to show that you're not only you committed, but you really applied yourself. You know all of the history of judo. You know everything there is to know about judo from a basic level in terms of rules. I think you should have competed at this point before you get to Shodan. At least have some competition experience. You don't have to have a great competition record. I mean, Lord knows I don't, but you should have at least had some experience competing, testing yourself. Again, just talking about club level guys and hobbyist people. But, as we talked about on the last podcast, there should be a path for people who don't know or don't really want to compete because they're older or just way past their prime in that regard. But there should be opportunities for a person to achieve the rank of Shodan if they've shown technical proficiency, if they have good kata. And this is where I think kata comes into play. I think kata is very important for people who are not necessarily very good competitors. You can still demonstrate that you are a good judoka and you understand judo principles and you have good technique through kata. And I think when it comes to promotions to Shodan, at the very least, you should be able to demonstrate that you are proficient in that way if you're not actively competing, for whatever reason that may be. But again, that's just my opinion. So at Shodan, again, I'm not going to go over all the techniques, but I do believe that you should be able to demonstrate the Gokyo. And you should, by Shodan, I'm not a stickler. Some sensei are, and that's their prerogative, and that's fine. I'm not a stickler for being able to demonstrate all the throws of the Gokyo, both left and right-sided, with a high level of proficiency. I would expect a high level of proficiency for your dominant side, but I think at Shodan, you should have a throw that you can demonstrate going left-sided. At least a few throws. And even if it's not the prettiest thing, I still think you need to demonstrate that you can go both left and right if the situation calls for it. So that's a long response, but I hope you, anonymous emailer or commenter, I hope you appreciate that, and hopefully that helps. To answer your question, about jiu-jitsu. I think Shodan is the equivalent of this isn't an original thought. I've seen this before. I would confirm. I tend to agree that the purple belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is the equivalent of the first degree black belt in judo, the Shodan. I think in terms of technical proficiency, I think that's a fair comparison. Now, by Shodan, I would say that most Shodan, give or take, can hang with a BJJ blue belt. I know I can, at least club level blue belts anyway. Now I don't really know how I would compare a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt to judo, maybe Sandan, but to me, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, that would be the equivalent. It compares somewhat to a Yodan in judo, a fourth degree black belt. Because to me, Yodan, after Shodan, Yodan is a very, very significant rank. And for all the talk that I've been doing about, all the roadblocks to get to Shodan and such, I think for Yodan, those roadblocks need to be there. I think the standards have to be very high for Yodan, and that's just my opinion. I think Yodan is a very significant rank. I know historically speaking, when you talk about the title of sensei, that was typically reserved for people who are Yodan and up. But these days, I mean, the kids in the judo club call me sensei. I've said it before. I can't stand it. I don't like it. I don't feel like I'm a sensei. I'm just a Shodan is an advanced student, and I'm just an advanced student who helps the kids out and teaches. But I'm not. I've tried to dissuade them from calling me Shodan. I'd rather them just call me Dave. But at Yodan, to me, you should be able to demonstrate throws both left and right. I think you should be able to demonstrate every single throw both left and right. You should be the college professor of sorts. You should be the guy that knows every technique in judo, that can demonstrate every known technique in judo, everything that is part of whatever you consider the judo syllabus. I would say you should be able to demonstrate at Yodan. And I think those standards need to be high because Yodan's an important rank. It's a key rank. And then of course, ranks after that, I can't comment because those are ranks I'll never get to. I really don't think I'll get to Yodan. I aspire to be able to demonstrate all the throws, both left and right side. That's my long-term goal in the next 20 years, to be able to demonstrate that. But Yodan is I think out of reach for me, and that's okay. I can accept that. That's not a problem for me at all. So hopefully that helps you out and answer your question. I know it's a very long response, but to go through the ranks and to go through those type of things, this is a judo podcast, and if you find it boring, I'm sorry, but I love talking judo. I love talking all things judo. Now, speaking of judo, I want to talk a little bit about the Dusseldorf Grand Prix, which was last weekend. Now, I would have liked to have talked about it last weekend, but the podcast ran so long, and I mean, I'm grateful it ran long because it was I loved doing that interview, but I didn't get a chance to talk about the Grand Prix in Dusseldorf. And let me tell you, I caught up to a lot of the matches, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching that Grand Prix. Now, just from the bird's eye view of it all, it appeared that they were more Ippon. It appeared that they were less Wazari, or not less Wazari, less Hansokumaki. I saw a couple of submissions by Shimewaza, which was new. I saw a number of choke outs to tap outs, and certainly a lot of wins by Nawaza, which is great. Now, I decided to take a look at the actual statistics to the things that I thought I saw during the Grand Prix, and the statistics bear out what I saw. So let me break down what I noticed and the direction that this is going. So there were a total of 353 contests. 223 of those contests were won by Ippon. 47 of those Ippon wins were Hansokumaki wins, which, I'd like to see that number lower, but it did do better. Only 8 contests with more than 2 Wazari in the contest. That's minuscule compared to 353. I mean, that's tiny. So 63% of the contests, if you include the Hansokumaki wins, were won by Ippon. And if you take away those 47 Hansokumaki wins, that would be about almost 50% of the contests were won by Ippon with a throw if you exclude Hansokumaki. That's 176 total matches. Let's see here. 37% of the contests were won with a Wazari lead. And less than 1% of the matches, tiny, 0.022% of the matches had more than 2 Wazari. That's 8 matches, like I said. 52 matches scored at least 2 Wazari. And let's see. Oh, so this is where I was going with that last point, is that, look, I'm telling you, and again, I hate that there's no Wazari Awaseti Ippon. I'll keep hammering that point until somebody in the IJF hears me and changes it after the World Championships. If you were to include all of those 52 matches that scored at least 2 Wazari and add those to the 176 total matches, you would have had 64.5% of the matches winning by Ippon, and that's if you exclude the Hansokumaki wins. Now, look, I understand that, if you did have Wazari Awaseti Ippon, perhaps those matches would play out very differently and those statistics would look very different, but I think if you had Wazari Awaseti Ippon, it would be better, because these matches need to be, I don't need to see 4-minute matches. I want to see decisive victories. And I don't need to see 5-minute matches or 10-minute matches. I want to see decisive victories. And to me, if you've got 2 Wazari, you dominated that match. That's a decisive win to me. Now, the men's division had, of all the contests in the men's division, 32 contests were decided by Hansokumaki. Compared to, in the women's division, only 15 contests were decided by Hansokumaki. So, what does that mean? Men cheat more than women. I'm kidding. No, I don't know what that really means. I think maybe men are taking more risks in their contests. So, in terms of these statistics, how do these match up to the Paris Grand Slam? So, the percentage of pure Ippon, by pure Ippon, I mean winning by Tachiwaza, Shimewaza, Kansetsuwaza, winning without Hansokumaki, those wins were up 10% compared to Paris. So in Paris, I think the pure, I call them pure Ippon, was only about 40%. The total number of Ippon wins were up by 6%. And the percentage of scores with 2 Wazari or more was up 5%. And so what this tells me is that the athletes are adjusting and the judo is getting more exciting. And I got to tell you, like I said, I only watched from the semifinals on for all of the days. And there's a couple of matches that I want to be able to highlight here that, let's see, I'll go through this quickly. On day 1, I got to give it to Abe of Japan. Youngest ever winner at Dusseldorf. Youngest ever IJF major tournament winner, I believe. She was only 16 years old. I think this is the sister of Hifume Abe, I think. I don't quote me on that. So congratulations for her for winning that 52K division. Now, look, Majlinda Kelmendi took a day off. I think she's a beast out there, and I mean that in the most kindest of ways. She took a day off, and I don't know if she would have lost to Abe if she was competing. I think Kelmendi is arguably, out of everybody on that tour, the best. Let's see. What are the key matches out there? So basically, last 2 weeks ago, I talked about the best match ever and must-see TV. So these are matches that I say you gotta watch. The under 66 kilogram bronze medal match between Khan Magomedov versus Shemailov of Russia versus Israel. There was a great, I tell you, great Ogoshi to Keisa Katami in that match. You gotta watch that match. Let's see, the under 57 kilo gold medal match, Mongolia versus Germany. Looks like, yeah, Stoll wins this one. Stoll of Germany wins this one for the home crowd, and they were very excited about that. And she won with a Wazari and golden score. It wasn't a great match, but you know what? It was the last match of the day, and the crowd goes home happy, and you know that's the way to do it. You want to see, you know, in NBA basketball, you want to see the last second shot. In NFL football, you want to see that game scoring drive. This is the equivalent of that. Stoll had a very, very good match and a very, very good day to win in front of the home crowd, and very, very happy for her. Let's see, the under 52 kilo division, Valentin of Brazil versus Florian of Romania. You got to see that match as well. Huge ippon there. Must-see TV. And let's see, what else with note of day one? The under 57 kilo match. Let me see if I get this name right. Mezhetshakia of Russia versus Udaka of Japan. Beautiful win by ippon, by Udaka. That's must-see TV. Something else I noticed on day one, I noticed it really throughout all the days, is this really obnoxious drumming going on in the background. Can anybody out there explain to me what that was? Because it was getting a bit much. Just dun 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 dun. I mean, I'm sure you thought that was annoying. This was even worse. And then you got a few people in the crowd honking with the vuvuzela or something like that. I would have preferred to listen to the vuvuzela over the drumming. It just, I didn't understand what it was. It was like a, I don't know, some kind of tribal ritual or something, you know, calling for, I don't know. I'm not even going to go there. But it was just a very odd drumming happening constantly. Let's see, some of the day two key matches. Fantastic gold medal match in the under 73 kilo division. You gotta watch this match. It was just incredible. It was one of those best match ever type matches. The winner of that contest was Ayartsev of Russia. Hopefully I got that name right. He also had a great match in his semifinal contest against Macias of Sweden. Just you got to watch those two matches. I highly recommend it. The under 81 kilo final was literally the worst match ever. Lapinagov won by Fusen Gaethje. His opponent was supposed to be Attila Ungvari of Hungary, but he apparently had a knee injury. So basically, he stepped out there, rayed to the mat, stepped off, and he won a gold medal. So good day for him nonetheless. He made it to that final contest. So in the under 81 kilo bronze match, let's see, between Ekatize of Portugal versus Goronoaga of Moldavia. This was definitely must-see TV. You got to see that one. Ladies division, under 63 kilo gold medal match. Fantastic win for Agamemnou of France. Just fantastic. You got to see it. Got to see that one. Oh, another one. Tina Turstenjak, who's one of my favorites on the tour to watch. She won her bronze medal match by Fusen Gaethje as well. Just Lucy Renshaw she was supposed to fight Lucy Renshaw of Great Britain, but she had just a terrible injury. I wish her a speedy recovery. It was against her match against Agamemnou of France, and yikes! I just her screaming in pain. I hate seeing that from anybody. Just disgusting. Ugh. Let's see what else was noted day two. The match of Arriver of Japan versus Van Dyke, really? Of the Netherlands was another best match ever in the under 70 kilogram semifinal. Oh, beautiful counter by Arai for the win. You got to watch that one. Now on day three, really exciting gold medal match between Gavinivishvili of Georgia versus Kalmurzaev of Russia. Sorry for the pronunciations. I'm trying my best, people. I mean, this match was awesome. You got to watch it. Best match ever from start to finish. It was. I mean, I thought. I thought on the throw, the way that match was, I thought he was robbed of Ippon. The fellow from Georgia won it, and I don't know. It seemed like almost like a rivalry of sorts. I mean, this guy was really pumped up to get that win, more so than I've seen a lot of the other athletes. Another great match in the under 100 kilo final between Aaron Wolf of Japan versus Toma Nikiforov of Belgium. Now, can somebody help me out here? Aaron Wolf is not a typical Japanese name. It sounds like the name sounds American, to be honest with you. I mean, he sounds like an American to me. I mean, not only that, but listen, a name like Aaron Wolf, that's awesome. I mean, that's an awesome name. There's some names out there that are just awesome. And I don't know if anybody out there is a Simpsons fan. Remember the episode where he changed his name to Max Power? Yeah, I love that episode. And a lot of people have said my name, Dave Roman, is an awesome name. I don't know about that, but I think the ultimate sports name ever is NFL Hall of Fame great Dick Butkus. That is like the ultimate of names in my opinion. But anyway, this final match should be what do you call it? A clinic on how not to turtle in a championship bout. Because look, Aaron Wolf is an excellent judoka. He's done very well for himself, but man, I don't know what he was doing here. He got thrown, tripped up. He decided to turtle, and he didn't defend it properly at all. As a matter of fact, Nikiforov stood there for a brief moment. It looked like he was thinking to himself, dude, are you serious? Before he decided to jump on that turtle and choke him out with Ukuri Erijime. It was definitely must-see TV just to see what not to do in a judo tournament. I don't know what Aaron Wolf was doing. Maybe he just had a lapse, but I don't know. This isn't 10 years ago where you jump the turtle and then they call mate right away. The referees are letting you fight Nawaza, and they're giving you time. So it was a great match to watch. Just as a teachable moment to any of you young guys out there or any of you competitors. If you're gonna turtle up, you better defend pretty well because Aaron Wolf paid the price. He might have won that match, but he paid the price for that one. Let's take a look here. Nice win by Michael Correll of the Netherlands for Ippon. That was, I believe, his semifinal match. Let's see. In the over 100 kilo match, Hawasawa of Japan had a beautiful Uchimata in that match. Let's see what else. Let's see. Beautiful Uchigari by Malgona of France against Karen Stevenson of the Netherlands in the semifinal round. That's a must-see TV. And there was I didn't really watch the repertoire all that much, but I got to tell you, in the over 78 kilo division, Sone of Japan threw Ayaro Moka of the Ukraine with a beautiful textbook Tayatoshi. It was picture perfect. You got to watch that match. So those weren't all the matches. I'm sure there were some incredible bone-rattling ippons in some of the earlier matches, but I just didn't see them. I couldn't see them. I was busy doing an interview, and I just had a busy weekend. I was spending time with my wife. I went to my disco party last weekend. I got really, I had a little bit too much to drink, but I had a good time, and yeah, so I just had a very full weekend. I couldn't watch all the matches, so I will try not to get that drunk again for a very long time. But I had a lot of fun. I looked the part. I pulled it off very well. I dressed to the nines, as we put it in the United States. So, but with that, I think I'm gonna say sayonara on this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. If you don't like what I'm saying, if you don't like what I'm doing, feel free to reach out to me again at La Vida Judoka. You can reach out to me on the show email, judochopsueyshow@gmail.com. Or you can reach out to me on Facebook. You could just search on the Judo Chop Suey podcast and it'll be pulled up there. If you listen to this on iTunes or Stitcher or Podbean, feel free to give this a thumbs up. I don't know what that really does, but I know that if you give more thumbs up and leave reviews, the podcast tends to be featured, and I want more people to listen in. Not that I need the numbers. I've got a lot of listeners as it is, but look, there's not a lot of judo content out there. There's been some people that started off podcasts in the past, and for whatever reason, they've fallen by the wayside. Years ago, there was a great one called Taking It Uneasy, but I believe the fellow Lex got busy with life. I think he's like a MIT instructor or something like that now, but there isn't a lot of material out there. So I want to be able to promote this podcast, not for any financial benefit, because there is none and there never will be, but I would like for people to be a part of this, be engaged in the judo community. The judo community is global to me. And the more that I can reach out and talk to people and get emails and such, I love that. I love hearing from you guys. And there's a lot of email I don't read on the air because I try and keep this within an hour, and looking at this now, I've already gone almost an hour and 2 minutes. So I could spend hours reading email and that kind of thing. I'm still waiting for the voicemail. Who's going to do that? Who's going to send me the voicemail and send it via email, and I'll play it on the air, and we could all laugh about it. You can laugh at me. You can criticize me, whatever it is. Look, I read the email. I read the message earlier about the guy critical of my podcast and some of the subject that I had. I love that stuff. Don't keep them coming. If you have something critical to say, if you think I suck, go ahead. Let me know. I'll read it on the air, and I'll probably get a good chuckle out of it. But I don't mind getting, and if I laugh, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because I love the fact that somebody's taking me to task. I'm a big boy. I can take it. So with that, I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a great class at judo. I hope you train hard. I hope you stay safe. And until next time, I'm out.
Oppan Gangnam Style.